So on my kids, I have first graders who are learning addition, and some of them have mastered their addition to 10, but some of them like to expand, so they put 2 blocks on one side and 2 blocks on the other to try and expand it. Rather than having like 2 plus 1 equals 3, they expanded it into like 9 plus 4 equals 10 plus 3. So being able to expand past 10. I had another kid put 3 blocks on one side to try and balance with the other. So the kids who need it to be further than a basic 1 plus 1 equals 2 can expand the idea. The kids who are still grasping the concept were guess and checking. So they put 1 block on one side and 1 block on the other to see which one was heavier, and then try and add a block to each side. And so they got to kind of toy with how numbers work in weight. And then when they just couldn't figure it out, they took all the blocks back out, put 1 and 1 back in, and then did guess and check to try and figure it out. So for the low kids, it gave them tangible ways of trying to work out a worksheet, not a plain worksheet, but an empty worksheet where they got to create their own worksheet based on the math that they experienced. So it was fun to watch kids who were struggling with the concept of addition to be able to work it out, to kids who thought they had it licked, and then got to expand past the limits of what I had planned for them.
I had a very similar experience with 3rd graders. Some of my kiddos they understand addition and those concepts, and some of them are moving into repeated addition and how that applies to multiplication. And so the way I had it set up was they were in groups of about 4 or 5, and they had to take turns, and then after they got to do it themselves because they were super excited to just touch the blocks, they kind of got to work together. And so I noticed that the first time they were just trying things out and experimenting, which was really fun. A lot of them don't get to just play with things and look at the numbers, and then I started seeing them make connections of, oh, 1 is lighter than 5, and balancing it out and actually seeing the connection of a number has this value and a lower number has a lesser value, and just figuring out the pattern. The second day I had them write it up using a black marker if it was black, or a colored marker if it was colored, and again, some of the kids just were enjoying trying to balance it and didn't really pick up on there being a pattern, and then the higher kids caught on and challenging themselves. I was surprised that happened pretty automatically. They were noticing patterns and they were wanting to figure out the more difficult combinations. That was really neat, and they could all work together, which was awesome. So, any questions?
Yeah, how many class periods do you think these blocks would be of interest to the students?
Well, I've had my kids play with them for 4 days, and each group has gotten 15 to 20 minute period, and they still ask about them. So, and I haven't even introduced the worksheet yet. This is purely them experimenting. So once I add in that extra component of let's figure this out, let's extend it. Oh gosh, a while. I mean, I don't even know. We've lots of learning to do left with them.
I've ended up with first grade. We've played with them 2 separate weeks, and extending it probably throughout the year. It's going to keep cycling back and being able to do different lessons with them. So now I can start jumping into subtraction with it. So I'm thinking it's about a week per unit that I would study. So the first one is just them playing with it, them experimenting with it, them trying to figure out what the blocks are. Then going into simple addition, then you can go into complex multiple number addition, and then jump into subtraction and seeing how subtraction relationships work with the balance in first grade. So I'm planning on using it all year, probably a total of 4 to 6 weeks throughout the year.